are the president.
Is it 9:02? It is.
Better late than never. Whoa.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, August 15th, 2023. We will start off with a moment of silent reflection for our first responders and members of the armed forces, followed by an invocation by our property appraiser, Wesley Davis, then Pledge of Allegiance led by our County Administrator, Mr. John Katanich. If everybody would please rise.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity that we have to come before you today and conduct the public's business and make decisions that will affect not this today, not just tomorrow, but generations to come. May we use your knowledge, your guidance, and your wisdom in these decisions, and thank you. Thank you for the opportunity that we have to live in this wonderful community. In your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, commissioners and staff, welcome back after like 4 weeks off between this meeting and last meeting. So we have a lot to do today, so we'll try to move through this, but I have a few housekeeping things I want to talk about first. First of all, I want to welcome, in his first official capacity, is our new county attorney, Mr. DeBraw. Welcome, sir. Welcome. And then next, I would like our Director of IT, Mr. Russell, to come and talk about, you see new screens, we got new mics and new cameras, but I don't understand any of it, so I'm going to let him explain it. So, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Just wanted to point out this morning that, in the spirit of continuous improvement, we're always looking for upgrades and how we improve our services to the public. In this case, it happens to be this very chamber. So in the last 2 weeks, this chamber has undergone a complete audio and video upgrade. All of our audio is now digital. Previously, it was an analog audio system. We've replaced all of the cameras. They're all now 4K digital cameras. And we've also replaced the equipment that handles the input of that audio and video and translation of that into our broadcast to improve our streaming services. So we hope that that'll bring a better quality of audio and video for this meeting and others that are held in the chambers.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Dan, just one question. With all this technology, you couldn't get that dingy gold tone that we had for so many years?
So we're working on that.
This is crisp, clear, and I hope that our viewing citizens appreciate your fine work.
Thank you. I will point out one other addition I forgot to mention. We are interfacing now with fiber to the EOC, so we can control the broadcast from the EOC from the broadcast booth up above us as well, which is great when we have events such as storms, et cetera. We can make sure that we're getting that information out to the public as quickly as possible. All right. Thank you.
Looks great.
All right, sounds good. All right, 14B. All right, commissioners, moving on to the rest of the agenda. Do I have any deletions, additions or deletions to the agenda? I do have a couple of things. Is that our property appraiser has requested to be be placed in under 9C under constitutionals to talk about trim notices. And I would have a request to move 7C, which is the third quarter budget report, to 11C under county administrators matters. And Request by Vice Chairman Adams to move 14B to right after constitutionals in reference to the Oslo Cemetery, and deletions of 8A1 and 8AJ by the county attorney for a future date. Any other additions or deletions?
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Moss, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, moving on to proclamations and presentations. 5A, presentation of proclamation designating August 31st, 2023 as International Overdose Awareness Day, and it will be presented by Commissioner Lohr, and I think Michelle's present. And I know Chief Curry's here, and a few others. So Commissioner Lohr, if you would, sir.
Good morning, Chair, and
Come on
thank
up.
you. Folks, come on. Folks, it's an honor for me to read this, and after I conclude, I'm sure we'll have some comments from some of the fine folks on the Safford team. This is a proclamation designating August 31st, 2023 as International Overdose Awareness Day. Whereas International Overdose Awareness Day is a global event held on the 31st of August each year that aims to raise awareness of overdose and reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths. And whereas opioid misuse and overdose has increased dramatically across the country, in Florida and in Indian River County, with a 200% increase in overdose calls from 2019 to 2022 in Indian River County alone. And whereas, according to the Florida Health Charts, in 2022, there were 624 reported overdoses, 290 naloxone, or also known as Narcan, administrations, and 60 reported deaths, representing an increase in deaths from the 55 reported in deaths in 2021. Whereas International Overdose Awareness Day is one of the opportunities to remember for our communities and residents and families and friends that have been lost to the overdose death, and promote strategies that we can prevent future overdose deaths. And whereas access to naloxone is proven to reduce the prevalence of drug overdose deaths, and whereas Indian River County Commissioners are dedicated to protecting the health, safety, and welfare of our community and educating our residents on the dangers of substance misuse, including fentanyl, which is driving the increase in overdose rates now and far beyond. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County that August 31st, 2023 be designated as International Overdose Awareness Day, and call upon all of our community leaders to observe this occasion with the compelling programs and events that support this year's observation. Adopted this day, the 15th of August, 2023, and signed by all 5 county commissioners. Welcome.
Good morning, thank you. I think most of you know me. I'm Carrie Lester, the Executive Director of the Substance Awareness Center. I'm joined today by members of our Board of Directors and our Substance Abuse-Free Indian River Safer Coalition, our prevention coalition in our community. I stand before you this morning as both a substance abuse treatment provider and a woman in recovery, and I want to just extend a heartfelt thank you for putting your attention on the overdose crisis and helping us increase public awareness of what is perhaps our nation's most pressing public health crisis. Last year alone, over 110,000 Americans lost their life to overdose. The year before that, it was 100,000. The year before that, 90,000. Here in Indian River County, as Commissioner Lohr stated, we lost 60 Indian River County residents to overdose. Our first responders went on over 600 overdose calls. That is really taxing to our community, and it's all being driven by illicit fentanyl. In light of International Overdose Awareness Day, we can come together not only to remember those who we've lost, but we can also come together to renew our commitment to recovery, to ensuring that those who struggle have access to the tools and resources they need to recover so that we can end overdose. I invite each of you and anyone in the chambers to join us August 31st, International Overdose Awareness Day, over at the Theater Guild. We are putting on, with our Safer Coalition, the help of our Safer Coalition, an opiate summit. We will have a speakers present. It is a day of learning, understanding. We'll have some calls to action of how we can enact change in our community, and obviously a day to remember those we have lost. So we hope you'll join us that day. I don't know if anyone else wants to speak.
Excuse me. Good morning. David Curry, Police Chief and current Chair, Board Member since 2012. I just want to share a message that you all know, but we want to reiterate. The collective effort when there's problems, when there's issues and concerns throughout our county, the way we come together as a county, different groups, different organizations, law enforcement, public safety, to tackle and to thwart these issues. You know, it's a worldwide problem, a national problem, certainly a state problem here in Florida. But rest assured, we can promise you that we are tackling it. We appreciate your support. This group, SAC, is unbelievable. Again, I wouldn't have been on the board this long if it wasn't between prevention and recovery and the work that they do, the people behind me, the cross-section of people that take and volunteer their time that are on our board. It's truly amazing. It really is. It's an honor to be a part of that group. And I just want to let everyone know here, including all of you commissioners, that, again, it's something that's that we're dealing with. It's a matter of prevention. It's a matter of recovery. But the opioid epidemic is truly at our doorsteps. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, come on up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The music stops, everybody's.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Lohr. Moving on to 5B. This will be a presentation of proclamation recognizing Colonel Marty Ziekert, and this will be presented by Commissioner Moss. So, family, friends, come on up. Commissioner Moss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to welcome Michael Zickard, Martin's son, and Renee Zickard, Martin's beloved daughter-in-law, both here today to receive the proclamation. This is a particularly poignant moment for me. It's actually 1 year ago today. I was hit by a truck as a pedestrian and spent 3 days in Lawnwood with a concussion. And Martin Zickard also suffered an accidental death involving a concussion. I'll take a moment to thank Fire Rescue and Vero Beach Police Department, since both are in the house. But he was one of the few calls I made that day, because we were planning to attend an event together the very next day. And the event had to do with the air show and the proceeds from the air show. And I'm not sure that the general community knows that the air show, which will be held again next year in May, it actually generates significant funds for nonprofits. And that was part of his love for it. It generates funds not only for Veterans Council, but also for the Exchange Club, which uses it to fight child abuse. And I think that says a lot about the man, that in things that he loved, like flying, jets, and the excitement of the air show, he always served the community. And I always appreciated that about him, and I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to work with him on many of the projects. We met while I was the mayor years ago, and he was the president of Veterans Council, so we both held positions authority where we were able to affect positive changes for the community. And I'm very thankful for that and thankful for having had the opportunity to work with him. He's a very special man. Some of the other, two of the other nonprofits that he aligned himself with were the American Cancer Society, Real Men Wear Pink. That was something that he he focused on for a period of time and was much appreciated. And also hurricane relief. Whenever there was a hurricane, I was just glad that he was around, because I always thought in the back of my head that he'll take care of it. He even took care of the one, he spearheaded the relief effort, for those that don't know, that took place in Houston, and this was back when I was the mayor, so it was like 2017. And of course, he was involved after that locally with the sheriff's office anytime there was a hurricane or emergency, and also in relief efforts for other cities. So I just wanted that said. And for those who don't know him and wish to know him better or understand, I want to thank Evergreen Media, made a lovely video, which is available on Facebook. It's on their Facebook page, that's Evergreen Media, and they posted it August 1st. And also, I'll thank Larry Griezmann, TC Palm. He wrote a lovely, I'll call it a letter, seeking to capture the essence of the man. I think he said, the way he put it was, he said, oh, I could write a book about him, and you could. But he captured it in a lovely piece that was published on July 7th. So just to refer you to that. But I hope that these things are not only a comfort to the family, but also an inspiration to a new generation of Martys, at least one. There was only one in ours. He was certainly one of a kind. But thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to read the proclamation now. Proclamation honoring Colonel Martin James Zickard, United States Air Force, retired. Whereas Marty was born in Greenwood, Wisconsin in 1941, where he lived until enlisting in the United States Air Force on January 2nd, 1962, and served his country for more than 30 years before retiring to Vero Beach in 2001. And whereas Marty was a true leader, patriot, mentor, and friend to all who knew him, and was the recipient of medals of distinction, including the Legion of Merit, Distinguished Flying Cross, Air Medal with 1 Oak Leaf Cluster, Air Force Outstanding Unit Award with Valor Device and 5 Oak Leaf Clusters, Vietnam Service Medal with 3 devices, among others. And whereas Marty had a special passion for helping veterans from all branches of service and was a natural advocate dedicated to making sure young veterans returning home from deployment would have a proper support system in place. And whereas Marty was a proud leader and president of the Veterans Council of Indian River County, which serves over 15,000 veterans of all wars, past and present, in addition to being instrumental for local chapters of United Way, Military Officers Association of America, Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 1038, founding member of Next Generation Veterans of Indian River County, the Victory Center, and also served as the Vero Beach Air Show Blue Angels liaison, which was very special to him. And whereas the Veterans Council of Indian River County, in partnership with the Zickard family, have created the Colonel Martin J. Zickard Memorial Fund to benefit direct aid programs for veterans in Indian River County, which will ensure that Marty's legacy lives on. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that after a life well lived, Colonel Martin James Zickard's impact on our community and on the lives of veterans is remembered with great appreciation, and that the Board, on behalf of the county, wishes to express our sincere gratitude, knowing that Marty has left an enduring legacy etched in the hearts of all he encountered. Adopted this 15th day of August, 2023, Board of County Commissioners, Indian River County, Florida, and signed by all 5 commissioners. Michael.
You stated a life well lived, and I was thinking about that exact phrase earlier. That there's a segment on one of the news shows of A Life Well Lived, and he could take up the whole show. There is, I have spoken to so many people since Dad's passing, and there is no way one person can fulfill all the things that he consistently did on a daily basis. Even after his passing, I was finding out that he was involved in so many things. One I have to mention, Dogs for Life. I had no idea. Dad hasn't owned a dog since the Philippines in '73. But he was never shied away from anything, and he was so proud of this community and so proud to be part of it. And I can't thank you guys enough. And I'm so proud to be here and have this opportunity, so thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so glad you could be here. Mr. Chair, I think there might be other people also who might wish to speak.
And I'm sure we have commissioners.
wish.
here. Let's start with commissioners. Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
anything?
Yes, I had the pleasure of working with Marty in the United Way, and, his dedication to the community, you guys have already touched on it, was just very inspiring, all the work he did. And it was a lot of behind-the-scenes work that people didn't realize, but he had tentacles into everything and was just an amazing man. Thank you for sharing him with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Zickert, for being here. I met Marty in 2008. I think it was actually in Commissioner Fletcher's office.
Yep.
And I think he was into financial investing and real estate and insurance. And from then on, through my years, worked very closely with him, from air shows to everything else. So he will be missed.
Mr. Chair, Michael Renee, I hear that he had a life well served, well committed. Marty turned 5 letters, his name, Marty, almost to the level of Elvis. He had an impact everywhere he went. I would call Marty the closest thing to Renaissance man that we could find. And I think it should be put in Wikipedia. Because everything the man touched rose. I want to share a quick story with you. Many years ago, when, if you remember, our mall was very abundant. A lot of retailers, about 100 and plus. And we had these people, Marty had a different name for them. I call them faux veterans. They were fakes, frauds. Marty had a term for them, but it's not for primetime broadcast. We tried everything. We worked with Sheriff's Office. We tried to get them out of here. They were a group from West Palm. They were fleecing our community, and Marty was highly insulted. And I talked with the mall, and I said, well, they pay to be here. And we negotiated a contract, an understanding that we could have real veteran preference. Colonel Young, remember, we could have real veteran preference in the mall, presence. And people would be donating or have a relationship with real veterans. So I called Marty and I said, I think we have a solution code here. So he meets, and we met, and we talked a little bit at the mall with the management, and Marty didn't say much. He just kept saying, we could do that, we could do that, we could do that. And the concept was to create the Victory Center. So we leave, and we're walking out, and he said, I don't know how we're going to do this. He said, I have no retail experience, but we'll do it. And the Victory Center was born. Marty said, we have a mission, in 1 week we'll have something together. And we did, and we created something. We took a collaborative and made it reality. I just want you to notice, if you look at the mall, you'll see that there are just a few stores there, very few stores there. And I think, and John created the model for the retail end of it. something that Marty said, well, I guess this is how Sam Walton got started. And we opened up the mall. John Darling created the concept. I just wanted to mention that he did the retail end of it. But today, if you go to the mall, the Victory Center is still there, and many of those hundreds of stores are gone. And it's an all-volunteer staff, and it's helping the community in so many ways. I have countless Marty stories. I'm going to miss those late-night phone calls. You know, ones where he called late at night and said,
Hey, what's up, brother?
can I call you in the morning? And I said, you just called now. And he says, yeah, but I just got a new phone, and I have no way to record that or put in to remind me to call you. So I wanted to remind you that I'm going to call you. And I said, okay, Colonel, you got it. He says, what are you doing? I said, I'm making eggplant. He says, better yet, disregard the request for call. I'm coming over. He was just one in a million, countless stories. He was the inspiration for my two children to go to the United States Air Force Academy. I get chills. The man traveled across the country to promote my son. And he did so unselfishly. Not only that, so many youth in this community he touched. He took the time to educate, to communicate. What an incredible life. We sorely miss Marty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing him with us. Because I know he had some projects he was working on with you many times.
Always.
I could hear the hammers in the background.
Never a piece of furniture that we didn't make.
Yeah. But he'd be on the phone too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There was never a quiet moment, never a silent moment. He was always doing something. And that was just the way he lived his life. He was always, his mind was always moving. And he was always active and, again, loved this community and never stepped back from a challenge.
We're a better community because of Marty. The only dampener in his life was when Penny lost the battle.
Yeah.
And that actually drove him so far to be committed to, said, I got to keep busy because there was only one penny. He said, it was my penny. And he had to keep on going.
Yeah.
And he would not stop. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you. Thanks all.
Thanks for being here. I got to know Marty, Colonel Zeker, right about the time I was ending my career at the Indian River County Fire Rescue. The first time the Blue Angels showed up, I was still a captain there in charge of a shift, and I knew him already, but I got to know him better when we were working on the first time they showed up to the county, and we worked closely on that. And then, for some reason, my trips to Walking Tree, every now and then he would be there, and we got to talking a little further, and became pretty good friends. And then when I ran for office, he was always a very big advocate of helping me succeed and encouraging me to run for office. But most of the time, we talked about world affairs and military and public safety and things in the county, and things we probably won't want to mention here in public. But he was certainly larger than life, in my opinion, and you could tell he was just a good leader of men and appreciated his country and his county. And we thank you for allowing him to pick Indian River County to live here and spend out his final years. He'll be truly missed, and he truly made Indian River County, help make it a better place. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know there's some folks out there that want to say something, so come forward if you want to say a few words, please.
Cynthia Ryan, Executive Director of the Veterans Council. I think it goes without saying that Marty was a visionary of how he thought that veterans should be honored and supported. And what he built with Veterans Council is going to live on, and we're committed to that. We are honored to work with his family to create the Colonel J. Zickert, Marty Zickert Foundation Memorial Fund, which will continue his vision of direct aid and assistance to veterans who are living in crisis. We're honored to do that. I'm honored to be here. He is why I'm here, and that's kind of what Marty did best, is he would go out and recruit people that had the same vision and same commitment to serving veterans. So we thank you for allowing us to be part of that legacy that he will continue on. And I would say that he was never shy to use his voice to advocate for veterans. And I would say that to the community, the easiest way to honor him would be to use your voice to advocate for veterans as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Good morning. I just want to have the opportunity to share a couple insights, but if you look at people that want to attract you to a form of service, probably the best means to do that is joy. And I mean, if you think of Marty, you know, what comes to everybody's mind is his laughter and his smile and his presence. And he generated that. And I had the opportunity to work with him for many years. And there was a young lady, a black woman who was my size, petite, and she had one hell of a voice, Telly Antona. And early on in the years out at the mall, we were at the other end, and Telly would go out there. And again, just a small, strapping woman, but when she belted the national anthem, everybody in the entire mall stopped. I mean, and that recognition, it was something that it was striking. I can share with you, his love for his family was inordinate. I know when Penny was ill and they had to move to Pensacola, and Marty moved over there for a short length of time, that devotion to his wife was something that I greatly admired. But if you think of what young men and women need when they leave the service, every capacity that you would want to see, whether it's enabling folks to be picked up in ODARC 30 with the bus route in order to go down to the VA hospital, whether it was generating the idea with Chaplain Flick for an economic assistance program, meeting out there, whether it was contending with a feisty Sergeant Major Ed Britt, who would keep him in check, which was wonderful to watch the interchange there. Marty was truly an extraordinary man, and I just want to thank y'all because the community turned out for the ceremony on the island, and you know, across the board, the air show, the Victory store, across the board. And so, you know, when we cash in our chips, you know, and we get ready to go upstairs to the good Lord, the testimony that the people speak of you will be a good judge. And by those terms, he kicked it out and he knocked it out of the park. So, Mike, Renee, cool.
Good morning. I served with Marty on the board for the Military Officers Association of America, and he was larger than life. We had big plans for this next year. Unfortunately, he's not going to be here to make them come true, but I just met him really in the last year, and he was just an amazing, amazing man. Certainly an inspiration to myself, but to anyone who knew him. And we loved him dearly, and he's going to be hugely missed. Thank you.
Ten years ago, I was approached by Doy Demzig and Scott Keel to join a group of veterans that have just recently come out of the Iraq and Afghanistan war. They wanted to call it Next Generation Veterans. A lot of the veterans groups have their groups, Vietnam veterans, veterans of foreign wars, so on and so forth. They wanted to create a group that was specifically for the group that was coming in now. I walked into my first meeting and met with Doy, and there was Marty. Well, first thing when I think of Next Generation Veteran, it definitely wasn't Marty. However, that was a badge of honor. When we talk about a Next Generation Veteran, we talk about veterans that have served from August of 1990. And for a lot of people don't realize that was when, with Desert Storm and Desert Shield is when, and Iraqi Freedom, is when the War on Terror actually started. Marty, Colonel Zickert, served was still active after that date, which qualified him to be a Next Generation Veteran. And that was a badge of honor he wore quite proudly. The contributions that Colonel Zickert presented to our organization, the leadership, the showing us that we didn't have to always pave our own way, that steps have already been created and guide us down those paths. He will be a force that is missed. And I can't thank him enough. He will always be a legacy, and so will his family. Thank you.
Commissioners, everybody, county, Michael and Renee. As chairman of the Veterans Council, I want to come up and just let you know that the light will be, moved forward. And those of you who know me, Marty liked two things about me the most. One, I married my commanding officer's daughter. And two, he moved us here. And when we lost him, Marty was that light that you could not put out. He guided us through. As I told you, he became like a father figure to me through that. And he hounded me every day to join the Veterans Council. And I said, Marty, I don't have time. I don't have time. And about 3 years ago, I had time. And the first thing he did was get me on a radio show and asked me to move forward with this Veterans Council. And I just want to reiterate that promise. We'll take this and we'll keep moving that light forward. And thank you so much for letting us share him, as everybody has said. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning. I remember Marty probably in a different era than many of us, because I remember him being a member of Post 181, the American Legion in Gifford. That means he stepped across that color line and he reached out to that post and he took that post to a different level, he and Vic. So I'll never be able to forget him for that, because so often, I think as we excel, many of us become, we forget people. We look over people. But Marty was never like that. And he saw us, we received him just like he was one of us, because he was a member of Post 181, the same type of attitude that we had in the military. I'm a Vietnam veteran 2 times. I was fortunate enough to be able to wear 2 airborne hats. I was in Vietnam, I was with 101st Airborne Division. And when I came back to the States, I was with 82nd. Marty never showed no difference. He and Vic. And we remember him because he was our comrade, our brother. And we loved him always as a brother. He'll be missed.
There's someone on the phone.
Okay.
Can I say one more thing, please? Sure. All the members of Post 181, will you please stand?
Who we got on the phone? Sorry. Are they on, Kim?
Yeah, they're on. You can go ahead.
No.
They're on.
No, okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and again, we're going to miss him. He was just a good man and a great asset to the community, and we appreciate everything he done, and letting you share him with us, and our best to you. And so come on up, we'll get a picture and give you the proclamation, and pleasure, thank you.
It's only because I'm short.
Thanks so much. All right, thank you, everyone. Thanks for the kind words. All right, Commissioners, moving on to item number 6, approval of minutes. We have the regular meeting of June 6, 2023, and the regular meeting of June 20th, 2023.
Mr. Chair, move approval.
Second,
Who had the motion?
Commissioner
Did you?
Flesher.
Lester Fleischer, you had the motion. Commissioner Adams seconded?
Yes, sir.
Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Commissioners. All right, information items from staff or commissioners not requiring board action, which is item 7. I would point out that the Indian River County venue calendar on 7D is full, and I would encourage all the commissioners and everybody in the general public to look over that or go to the website and see what's going on in the county. The Parks and Recreation Group and others always have a lot going on, and it's a good thing. And we see the 2024 holiday schedule was there, and we have 12 holidays this year. Am I right, Mr. Administrator, instead of 10 due to the way the days fall during the week this time?
That is correct, Mr. Chair and board members.
All right, good. All right, thank you. All right, and I would also want to mention under 7G, the Route 60 Hyundai and the Trends Agency Parks and Recreation sponsorship. And I thank Mr. Zito for his work on that. But I can tell you, I know Mr. Chiarenza and his family personally, and they're great benefactors of the community. And this is a great gift to our recreation department. And I personally want to thank him. I will call him personally and do so. But that is just a really, really nice gesture on their part and their family's part to do that. So, and again, Mr. Zito, thanks for working on that and getting that done. So. All right, Commissioners, moving on to number 8, consent agenda. Anything you wish to discuss or have pulled? I know we have pulled, I think I mentioned it in the first part, item 8A1, 8A1 and 8AJ. We already talked about that, but do you have anything additional you want to pull, discuss? All right, Commissioner Fleischer, nothing? Laura, nothing? No? How about that? Okay, I figured with all that stuff, somebody would have something they want to talk about because it is a very lengthy consent agenda, but while we've been off, and I know we've been working, staff has been working very hard to get this done. So with that, I'll entertain anybody
Mr.
from the
Chair?
public have anything they wish to pull on the consent agenda. Come on down and let me know, the speaker.
Tom Sullivan.
Your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Tom Sullivan, 4187 West 16th Square. The Hosey Park, is that 8M? Are we on that? Can I discuss that?
What was that again? I'm sorry?
8M, the resurfacing of the basketball court.
Mr. Chair, request to pull item 8M.
8M.
Mike.
Basketball court.
M is in Michael?
M is in Mike.
M, the Hosey Schuman basketball court replacement?
Yes.
Is that the one?
Yes, that is correct. Sometimes I work some kids out over there. It's in disrepair, and I noticed that they're,
L?
Wait, no, wait, you have to wait one moment,
Having a
sir.
hard time understanding.
We have to approve
Out here.
the rest and then move forward. One moment.
Stay right there, we'll be.
They're right there.
All right, so he's pulling 8M. I don't see anybody else that needs to pull anything.
Mr. Chair, move approval.
8M, the Hosey Schuman basketball court? Okay,
So Commissioner Fleischer has.
Move approval as amended.
okay, motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Adams. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion?
Commission meeting.
Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, 8M, the award bid 2023054, the Hosey Schuman basketball court replacement.
yeah, I looked at the bid for that, and I think it's allowing like $65,000. And I don't think that that can be done for that amount. I think they might be thinking of resurfacing. And that court really can't be resurfaced. It's going to have to be taken up and a new court laid down. I don't know what that would cost, but my initial estimate, going over there, the weeds are going up. If you resurface that, which it sounds like $65,000 will do, unless I'm incorrect. But my thoughts are the whole thing has to be pulled up. You'd have to make that like a parking lot, come in with pavement, come in with blacktop, and it seems that that would be a little more expensive. Knowing a little about it, I would just say it says 2 courts, just for the backboards alone is probably going to run about $7,000. So I just was looking at the bid, and I was looking at the person who, I just happened to look into it because I said, that's a great idea. And like I said, I do work out some kids over there once in a while, even though it's in bad condition. I just think that you might have to do, who's ever doing this, might have to do a little more analysis of the bid and the process and what's going to be done. Am I allowed to say that here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chair. Your microphone, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, so,
I was just going to say in the agenda item, it does note that they will be removing the existing basketball court, and they note that the court's cracked and it can't be repaired, so they will be replacing it with the 2 new basketball courts.
good, okay. I was just curious, because when I saw the amount of the bid, I didn't think it was feasible under that circumstance, but if $68,000 will do all that, that's great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Chair,
Motion.
move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fleischer for approval, second by Commissioner Adams. Anybody in public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right. Moving on to item 9, constitutional officers and government agencies. We'll start off with 9A, Supervisor for Elections, Leslie Rossway Swan, and approval of trade-in EVID or EVID compact units for the EVID Edge model. Madam Supervisor, welcome.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. It's great to be here. I am here today to respectfully request the board's approval to trade in 63 of our electronic poll books. We want to upgrade to a newer model, and we will be using these. We already use our ballot-on-demand printer with our electronic poll books at early voting sites, and we're going to try to be able to do that at Election Day polling places as well. But we do have the funds in our current budget. So I had to come before you to get your approval to do this, to trade in our existing units.
Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to move approval.
I'll second. I got that one.
You got it.
Because I'm a big believer, whatever Madam Supervisor wants, Madam Supervisor gets. So with that, All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by myself. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Great. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
your
ma'am.
time today.
Thank you.
All right, 9B, Indian River County Sheriff Eric Flowers, fiscal year 23 auction proceeds. Welcome, Sheriff.
Good morning. I was just talking with our property appraiser, Wesley Davis, in the back, and thanks to him and his suggestion to our agency for auction, a way to sell off some of our items, we're able to raise quite a bit of money there, about $190,000. About 188 of that would be used to repurchase like-kind items. This is something that we do in the normal course of business, and coming before you to ask for the approval to take those funds that were gained at auction to use them back on similar like-kind items.
So move.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Lohr, second by Commissioner Adams. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you guys for your support. Have a good day.
All right, moving on to 9C now. Property appraiser Wesley Davis reads and trim notice, and he called me at the last minute, did this, and we're glad to do this. for
Well,
you.
thank you. It hit me the end of last week that I was going to be saying the invocation today, and I figured while I was down here, why I missed the opportunity to let everybody know. The trim notices are in the mail. They should have, I got mine yesterday. Everybody else should have too. And as you know, it says that this is not a bill, do not pay. It doesn't say throw in the garbage, do not read. And so please, open up your trim notices, look at them closely. Look at them to see if there's anything that may be materially wrong, perhaps because we do make mistakes every now and then. Look at them as far as on values. If you have any questions about your values, call us, come and see us, however you want to communicate with us, but do so. We'll try to have one of two things happen. One of them is we find that there is an error and we'll make an adjustment. Or the other one, we determine collectively that you're being treated fair, just like your neighbors. Those are the two things that we like to have happen whenever people come in and have questions about their trim. In addition to the values, other important information on there is the exemptions. If you're entitled to any exemption, it should be on there. If you think you're entitled to an exemption that's not on there, you need to let us know. We only have statutorily 25 days. It will end the 5th of September. We only have 25 days. It will end the 5th of September. At that point, all that data will come over to you, and it'll be time for you to start setting your millage rates and having your public hearings. In addition to the values, in addition to the exemptions, there's also more information on there, and that is the date, the time, and the location of where every entity that will be levying a millage rate on the values that I put on the properties. Therefore, the St. Johns Water Management District, the Board of County Commissioners, the City Council, if you're in the municipalities, the dates and times of and the locations of that is on there, so you can dispute anything you would like to regarding the amount of taxes that you're paying with those governing agencies. So again, they're in the mail today. You can stop into our Sebastian office. You can stop into our Vero office. You can call us at 226. Call me personally, 226-1480. That's my direct line. And again, if you don't have a copy of it for some reason, or you have a loved one that you kind of oversee these things, but they get the mail somewhere else, you can go to the property search on the property record card, go all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see a PDF at the bottom that says 2023 trim, and get a digital copy of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Wesley.
Ms. Property Appraiser?
Do you want to repeat the date again for
Yes.
the people in the back?
Yes, September the 5th. After that, the opportunity for me to help anybody and to make any changes gets very, very difficult. So please, September the 5th is the deadline, 25 days. And then, so just keep that in the back of your mind. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks, tell your staff, thanks for the work they've done the past year and moving into new ones like Groundhog Day. I know it starts all over again, but tell them, please pass on our thanks for the good work they've done.
I'll certainly
this
do
past
that.
year.
And right now, they've been told no vacation until after September the 5th. And so we're all hands on deck right now. And so we've got everybody's full attention. But thank you. I will pass that along to Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to another move we had, 14B. This is under the Commissioner or Vice Chairman's matters. Commissioner Adams, this is the Oslo Cemetery burial site names. Madam Vice Chairman.
Thank you so much. My fellow commissioners, I brought an item October 4th, 2022 to discuss setting up rules and regulations for the Oslo Cemetery. I've been working with the attorney's office to do that, but at this point, we really need to kind of do an overall survey of what and where people are currently buried. However, in the interim, Mr. Meadows, who was here for the October 4th meeting, is trying to settle some of his affairs. His brother is buried in the Oslo Cemetery, and he would like, and I would like to ask to allow him to work with the county attorney's office to, acquire, I guess, 6 plots for the rest of his family to be buried with his current family. The proposed rules that we have discussed would be to keep this as a pioneer cemetery. That's the intention. So, only family of the deceased that are buried there would be eligible for burial. I've attached a list to kind of give you an idea that that is a finite amount of people. The families and the deceased would be responsible for coordination and burial cost, and that they would acknowledge and understand that this is not a perpetual care facility, but more of a family and pioneer cemetery. So it's just going to take us the reason I brought this today is it's going to take us a little longer to get those rules in place and that survey done, so we know, kind of where and what we have to work with in the future. In the meantime, there is several spots around the family member that Mr. Meadows already has in the cemetery, and because it's going to take a little bit longer, I wanted to give him the peace of mind of allowing him the possibility of working with the attorney's office to get that worked out as we go through the longer process. So if that is acceptable for everybody, I know Mr. Meadows is here, but I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to allow him to work with the attorney's office to make that happen as we work on the overall. Thank you so much.
Any questions?
Very honorable and respectful.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Did you make a motion?
I made a motion and Commissioner Fleischer seconded.
I have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Mr. Ball?
Mr. Meadows, Susan Prado from our office is working on this issue. She's in the back. If you'd like to get with her following this, that'd be fantastic.
I have a motion and a second. Anybody from the public wish to comment? Anything you wish to say?
Yes, sir. And ladies, thank you for pushing this. I say pushing because it's been a long time. Every time someone wants to get buried there, it becomes an item on your agenda, and y'all have more important things to do than help select a location for a deceased person to be buried. And if we could continue in a pretty timely fashion to get these rules established, and then y'all would not have to be involved in this every time it comes up. I've been involved in this since the mid-1980s, just simply trying to get approval for me and my immediate family to be buried in Oslo Cemetery. That's way too long. We just need some rules established and somebody to be responsible for that. And a person that wants to be buried there or their family could just simply go to some designated person and answer a couple of questions, and if they qualify, then it could be all over instead of y'all, especially Ms. Adams, having to go through pulling forward, trying to get this established. We have a cemetery now, and it belongs to us, and it should be treated as a cemetery is, a place to bury people, and the process to get that done. And I would like approval from the committee that when I work with Susan, that it sort of goes along with this, but I would like permission to put corner markers that are used in cemeteries for family locations. I'd like permission to have those put around the area that is selected for me and my family, so that no one else is inadvertently buried there. As Susan knows, there's been some other people buried in Oslo Cemetery that we don't know about. And that I would just like my area marked so that we don't have to exhume someone later down the road, because that location close to my twin brother is it means a lot to me. And that's where I want to be buried, and I don't want someone else to be buried there. Then us have to go through whatever it would take for us to go through me getting that in the future. So I would like permission to put the corner markers that are used in cemeteries. It's just a little cement marker with an initial on the top of it at the corners of the property that's granted, so that no one just makes a mistake and gets buried in the wrong place. So once again, I thank you all for that, and I look forward to working with Susan and Susan to get all this worked out. So thank you again, and lots of luck on your new adventure in the office as attorney for the county.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Meadows. And to my fellow commissioners, that's one of the reasons why what Mr. Meadows kind of alluded to was one of the reasons why we need to do the survey. There's a hand drawing of where people are. There's a list of who's there, but there's been some discrepancies found when we go kind of out in the field. The area that Mr. Meadows would like to acquire for his family is pretty clear, and he's done some research there, so I don't think that area is an issue. But our concern was, as we move forward with identifying burial plots for future family members, we wanted to make sure that we weren't identifying plots that may already be used or taken, if you will. I don't know how to say that any other way,
Well,
but.
it has been identified in the past, and I sent Mrs. Gregory the engineering drawing that had the list of people that was buried there, as far as they could determine as to who is buried, where they're buried. And the engineering drawing went to Mrs. Gregory when she owned the cemetery, and I'm not sure what all she sent, she sent it over to her son, as y'all know, and then I don't know whether he sent any of those drawings that I sent to her or not back, but it may not be hopefully it won't take too awfully long to get this done, since it has been done once already. And at this point, there will not be anything, and I say this with a great deal of reverence, there will not be anything left of the people that have been buried there, so that the new electronic equipment will be able to detect that. That's just the way the Lord planned it, and there's just nothing there other than maybe a marker, and we know what those are. So if we can proceed with speed on that and get it taken care of, I would like to be buried whole as I am, not cremated, and I don't want to be put in cold storage while my family comes before the committee again looking to get this done. So
We don't want that to happen either, Mr. Meadows. We want to make sure that you have your wishes and your plans ready to go, so it can be as seamless for your family, which hopefully is much further in the future, but we'll get it out of the way now so you don't have to go through that stress. And my motion, commissioners, would include whatever monumental markers Mr. Meadows would like for each of the plots, as well as to create a little family area.
Can I clarify?
Of course.
You're saying it's not monument, you're looking for markers for
Markers, correct.
all of the plot, because the monument is
Right.
correct?
Correct.
So that your motion is to mark off the area intended for
Correct.
his family.
Correct.
yes, it's just to mark the area where the
squares.
You're
individual
right.
plots will be. It's just
The
a
monuments
little
with
round
initials
cement
on
thing
it.
with an
Right.
initial on the top.
Yeah.
Mine would be an M there, so that anybody would look and they could see,
Monument keys.
four corners
Yeah.
that somebody is going to be buried in.
Yes.
In that area. And it would be flush with the ground. They would be flush with the ground.
Awesome.
Any questions of me?
We're all good, I think. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Meadows.
Anyone else wish to comment? All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Fleischer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Commissioners. All right, moving on to number 10 under public items. This is A, public hearings. 10A1, public hearing to adopt solid waste disposal district rate resolution 2023-001. This will be legislative in nature. Do we have any staff, or do we need any staff, or?
Mr. Mate, oh,
There he is. Mr. Liskey, welcome.
Thank you. Unfortunately, the managing director of SWID could not be with us today. Himanshu had some family emergencies he had to deal with, so I am here in his stead. So I'm not sure, this was a formality. The commission has previously adopted the rates that are within the resolution, and we needed to bring forth the resolution to the commission for formal adoption of those rates. These were the waste generation units that you all have previously approved, as well as the tipping fees that were previously approved by the commission. I think the one thing that was perhaps added late was to include a cost for purchase of crushed concrete. We've got a contractor out doing some work on site to crush concrete, and so we included a price for that for individuals to actually come and purchase crushed concrete if they so desire. So that was included in the rate resolution as well. And so this was just to hear that and to see if there was any public comments on those rates.
Commissioners, any questions, Sean or staff? All right, seeing none, with that, I'll open the public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to comment? Anyone? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, your direction.
Mr. Chair, move approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Adams. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Good job. All right, moving on to 10B. This is public discussion items. Being that we have numerous folks talking about different subjects with regards to the public discussion items today, I would ask each of the speakers that come up to try to limit themselves to around 3 minutes. If you're trying to end it and you need more time, I will gladly grant you more time. If you get off subject and not what you're here to talk about, you'll also hear from me also in regards to that matter too. So I just want to make sure that everybody is clear on that, and that the staff and commissioners are all clear on that. We'll try to get this through, since we have like 7 or 8 folks that want to talk about different subjects today. So with that, I'll start off with 10B1. This is a public discussion request from SCL CIRC Jimpo, Mr. Wright, and written the gentrification of Gifford. Mr. Wright or somebody who.
We're not going in that order, if it's okay.
You have to come up to the podium, sir.
Yeah, we are not going in that order. And we had one individual that was in in Baltimore, Maryland, that called and said she could not, because we was told you didn't have Zoom, so she won't be able to appear today. That was DeAndre Jennings.
Okay, so M. Wright's not here today?
Yeah, Mr. Wright is here today, but he has someone going to speak in his place. The contractor is going to speak in Mr. Wright's place. And we're not going in that order. Mr. Jennings is going to be first, Blaine Jennings. And while I'm here, I'd like to thank Ms. Moss and you, Mr. Herman. I don't think you remember me, but you do know Mary Clark and E.C. Clark. Eastman.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and Ms. Moss, I thank you for attending things in Gifford that are pertinent to our community. I really do. And we're not going in that order. We will have Mr. Jennings to appear first, who's a longtime resident.
Okay, well, let's move on then. Who wants to go first?
Okay, thank you.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Good morning. My name is Jay Blaine Jennings. Present address is 931 Barber Street, Sebastin. I am originally from Gifford, and we are appearing today on the subject of the affordable housing. I'll see if I can do this in 3 minutes. I don't know. I would like to cover two basic points. The first point is the summary and history of affordable housing. And the second point that I would like to cover is an appeal for the participation in the project. From my readings and our taking a look at this concept, from what we can determine, it originally began in 1934 with the Fair Housing Administration, and then we had the Brooke Amendment. And during those times, it was determined that 25% or 30% of a person's income would be adequate for housing. From that, we get into affordable housing, and the concept now is that 30% of a person's income should be or could be set aside to have that particular housing. Our concern or question, and my questions are rhetorical, of course, is that we're having a project that will begin shortly, and the question is, the affordable housing is for whom? The other question, and my final, because I guess I'm into a minute or so and a half, the other thing that we would like to propose is that there be room for employment for the persons who are from Gifford, because we have contractors, electricians, carpenters, plumbers, etc. But we want to be sure that we can have participation in the project. And you say, well, yes, that's fine. While you're here, we're not building houses. You're not building houses, but you are the government. We respect you, and what we're here to ask for is your support and being sure that those quotas are met, because where there is federal funding, we know that there's an allocation that minority participation has to be involved. So we're here to, in the spirit of unity, that you would support our effort to, number one, be sure that persons can afford or get or have jobs or whatever to be able to acquire the affordable housing, and that there would be participation work-wise for those persons who have their particular occupations, professions, or whatever, that would be full participation. And not, we look up, the housing is built, oh, wow, that's a beautiful complex. No one gets a job. So we have people who can do work, and we're asking for your moral support. Yes, you're not building the houses, but you are the government, and your influence counts, and we respect that, and we're asking you to support us in this, in the spirit of unity. And as I often say, and perhaps we can have in this county, one county, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice, and occupations, opportunities for all. Thank you.
Mr. Crawford, Holmes, Stewart, one of the other Jennings, whoever's next, whoever's here. Name and address for the record, sir.
Name is Edward Holmes, 4545 43rd Court, Vero Beach, actually Gifford. we wanted to address an issue, not so much as it deals with gentrification definitively, but this project that we have in our town, we have quite a few people that are capable of second-tier, third-tier jobs of that particular site. And since it's in our community, and we would also like to very much be a part of this endeavor that's going to put affordable housing in our community. We have often not had an opportunity to have all of our residents that have these occupational license, these that are capable, these subcontractors, and we have quite a few. I looked at a referral list that we have here for the county for the SHIP program that we have, and not one African-American contractor is on that referral list. We just don't want to make it about race, but we want to make it about opportunity. And this is what we endeavor to do, and this is where we come to seek the help of the commission. We have a lot of things going on in Gifford that they're building. On 41st, there's a huge storage area that they're building. On US 1, there's Wawa that's coming up. There are houses. There's all of these things coming up. And Gifford remains the poorest town in the state of Florida, while Indian River County is the 5th richest county in the state of Florida. The disparity has always been there, and prayerfully, it won't always be the same, but we're just asking that we are considered whenever there are endeavors that are occurring in Gifford, that we be a part of it, that we are included in it and not excluded in it. Gifford and most of our African-American communities that you go in, it's 45% black, maybe 35% white. In our typical white communities, it is 75% white and only 8% African-American. So the disparity continues. We're just asking that the inclusion happens, and that, again, as Blaine Jennings said, that we get support from this entity to help us to not be so impoverished and not be, to have our people that have means and abilities to do these jobs, that they get a chance to do them, that they get included in that. And it would also be beneficial because it would save the out-of-towners that come in to do the building and everything, and bring in workers with them that they have to pay for hotels and things for all the duration of their work. We have people that are capable of doing these second-tier and third-tier jobs, and we just ask for inclusion to be that. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes? There he is.
Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Yes. My name is Terry Booty. I am not Mr. Holmes. I am the president of Urban Farmers, Inc. I'm a successful real estate developer. My address is 701 South Olive, West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm here as the youth of SCLC. As you can imagine, we stand here as Americans, right? We have this order and structure. We stood and pledged allegiance to this flag. We had an invocation that imparted, and we prayed for wisdom. Part of that wisdom is sharing the desire to have equality and justice in manners that are non-traditional. Can you imagine at the age of 39, our leader, our hero, Dr. King, was assassinated? The understanding of that he had at 39 versus what he had at 62 or at 74 or at 84 will be quite different. Economic justice is very simple. It is about creating a small margin or opportunity for people to utilize their God-given talents to create the future that they want. The idea behind creating affordable housing is to provide those basic necessities for all living people, no matter what their creed or color, to be able to participate in this American dream. The leadership of SCLC here today is simply asking to be that bridge or that conduit to help create those opportunities for people of color, but more importantly, specifically for the people of this region. HTG and other regional large developers have a tendency to create excuses or not follow the federal guidelines as it pertains to utilizing home, SHIP, ARP dollars that are intended to help expand the footprint of affordable housing. When you have the ability, as this body does, to hold those folks accountable, it creates a win-win solution for those folks that are then participating at all levels of the development process, meaning not only are they able to live and participate in subsidized housing, but they're also able to be a part of the economic cycle that eliminates the need to be a part of that affordable housing. This is the American way. This is the American dream. But it cannot happen unless we have a willingness and leadership and a commitment to doing those things. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to nudge, inch, pry, press those that are given the opportunity to develop, to open up that portal, to allow the participation of maybe some folks that might be overlooked, and then create a bridge that allows them to be successful during that period of time. This is a tried and true measure of how we bridge that gap as Americans to have that inclusive vision of community. So I implore you today, as things progress and things move forward, that you take a look at the procurement standards, allow a coalition of leadership to be formed, and then execute on that vision in a fair, equitable way. With that, I thank you for your leadership and service, and undoubtedly know that the vision that you guys have for affordable housing for this county will in part not only help the residents have better, safe housing, but be an economic bridge to success. Thank you so much.
I don't know if we get your name and address for the record, sir. I don't know if she got it. I didn't hear you say it. You may have.
No problem. My name is Terry, Terry. My last name is Booty, Booty, and my address is 701 South Olive, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33401. Thank you, guys. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, 10B5, Mr. Stewart.
Yes, sir. Once again.
It's like you're up.
I'm sorry?
You're
Yes,
up.
I am, finally. Thank you. And again, I'm going to pass some things out to each of you all. And I'm grateful that you all have given us that opportunity to be here. The first thing on there is a book that I haven't been able to acquire the hard copy, but it's on digital. And I listened to it over the weekend once I learned that it was out. It's called The Injustice of Place. Me being not only just a Vietnam vet who went twice, but I'm a lifetime resident of Indian River County. I was born and raised here. My people came here in 1914. I can identify with the brother that was talking about the cemetery in Oslo, because that's where we first moved. Supposedly, in 1914, I have the 1920 census and the 1930 census to verify. In this book, The Injustice of Place, she's dealing with not just how poverty tend to be in certain areas, but she looked at the fact that the same areas that are the lowest poverty areas, that they also in that same county have an area that is the highest, wealthiest community. And we have such. We're in the same district, Mr. Fletcher, as with Windsor. Windsor, homes in Windsor average $3.7 million. Gifford is by far the poorest town in the state of Florida. Number one, and I want you to please take a look at this. Do not give us the same attention you give everybody, please. That proof, Gifford, income is around $22,000 a year, the average income. Now, Mr. Jennings talked about affordable homes. The affordable home that we have for the average person in Gifford, who's, remember at the bottom there, it says that Gifford has a 48% poverty rate. That's the highest in the state of Florida. I checked it. There's only 6 other census-designated places that has a higher poverty rate than Gifford in the All-America. That's out of 19,508 designated areas. And here it is, Gifford in America has the highest poverty rate, and yet we are living in a county that is the 5th, number 2. We're living in a county that has the 5th richest in the state of Florida. That shouldn't be. And this is what this study was all about. It was saying that when they started, they was looking for what caused poverty in certain areas. When I come from Vietnam, the first class I took was social problems, sir. And that they taught us that there's an ingredient, there is a formula. Poverty, ignorance, diseases breed crime. Gifford has the highest crime rate of any other area in this county. Because it has been totally, according to her, the injustice of neglect. And there's time, we have opportunity to change this. But I guess most of us don't see a need for change. There was an article that I took, I wanted to read to you at the end of that. And I'm sure that we all should be able to identify with this. This article starts out, it says that, and I need this magnifying glass, nothing but a plot. This is nothing but a plot to get us off our land. My husband and I lived and worked all our lives for this home. Now, our health is gone bad, and this is all we have. Where am I going to find another roof? For over my head, Mrs. Thorne questioned, did anyone offer you to buy your property? Asked Chester Clem, board member. I don't care, Mrs. Thorne answered, yet an unidentified man in the audience said that $800 had been offered for a lot. The hospital was paid former owner William Van Buck $1,850 per lot in this debated area. Wrong, would you object to the hospital putting up buildings beside your home? I don't care. All I want to do is just live in my home. You know, this was the same place we are at now, Mr. Thorne lived, right on this ground. It was Oslo. I'm sorry, not Oslo. It was Spillway, which is Booker T. Washington subdivision. And here this lady was told that we was going to build a hospital. We don't want you to stand in the way of progress. And they put her out. She had to move to Gifford, give her $800 for her land, and giving everybody else $1,850. This same ideology, sir, is being perpetuated. Whether you all want to know, whether you want to understand that you are a part whether you want to acknowledge it or not. But you are a part of this. Right now, he explained, there's no way with the kind of, can you, please turn to page 17.
I need you to go ahead and.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. Page 17, please. Now, page 17, this is HTG's proposal. And this is also, because we have the entire contract with them. HTG is proposing that they're gonna build 79 units. 8 of them will be, I guess, the 33% that they're giving for affordable places for our people to live that they can afford. This project is costing $23 million. 17 million is coming from what Brother Terry was talking about, from the government, from state and federal funding, which our dollars is in there too. Just like everybody else who come up, there was never a mention of time until we got here. There's a problem with this. We got problems, people. And no matter how, whether we want to admit it or not. And this time, I paid 2 tours in Vietnam just for this time, Mr. Fletcher. I shouldn't be denied. Because what I have to say to you is extremely important to our people.
I didn't give any limit.
It's extremely important to our people, sir. Now, this $23 million, they are putting up $4 million. But the name of the mortgage deed is not going in HTG of Coconut Grove. It's going in HTG of Vero Shores. And I'm hoping that by some strange coincidence, that you all will have enough sympathy for the lady who was on her sofa crying about her home getting taken away, and we're standing, no doubt, maybe in the same place now. Maybe not for her, but for the rest of them in Gifford, whom we are moving out. And the name of the place that we're building, Mr. Fletcher, is called Vero Village in Gifford, in the heart of Gifford. That is totally disrespect for us. Not only that, you're not even allowing us, our people. Let's take a look at the disclosure. The disclosure that this guy gave you all.
Let's go.
The disclosure he gave you spoke of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. I marched over to Woodwork in '64. There was no Spanish people there. Nothing against Spanish. The 1964 Civil Rights Act had everything to do with black people. You're moving into a black neighborhood. You're not giving us opportunity. This is why we're so poor. You're not giving us opportunity to even get the jobs. Right now, our county, if I look around, how many black firemen on this thing? We got 285 firemen. You are not giving us. We got black contractors here. Some here now. But they don't get an opportunity. This is why we poor.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, I'm finna go before you take out your
Let's finish
hook,
up.
I'm gone.
Thank you. Next, do we have another one? Mr. Jennings, the other Mr. Jennings? Is that it? All right. Moving on to 10B7, public discussion request from Miss B's Learning Bees, fees for renting the IG Center. Name and address, please, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Latoya Bullard. My address is 4736 34th Avenue, Vero Beach, Florida, 32967. I am standing today, my name is Latoya Bullard, and I am standing today on behalf of Miss B's Learning Bees. To begin, to tell you a little bit about myself, I am born and raised in Indian River County. I attended the school district of Indian River County for my education. I went away to Columbia, South Carolina to attend Benedict College. I came back to teach. I taught in Indian River County for 20 years. I resigned not because I did not want to teach, but because I wanted to be able to better support children from high poverty communities, like children from Gifford, Wabasso, Oslo, and other communities throughout Indian River County. The reason I come before the commission today, I'd like to begin by thanking you for this opportunity to present my concern, and just to share what I feel is important. Since 2017, Ms. B's Learning Bees has assisted 897 students in helping them to reach and maintain proficiency in Indian River County. We have helped to increase the lowest 25%. We have we have assisted the school district of Indian River County in helping to close that achievement gap. We go into high poverty communities and we bring certified teachers, we bring laptops, we bring the internet, we bring food, we bring transportation, and we bring it to our children. One of our beehives or neighborhood hubs is located at the Intergenerational Center, located in Oslo, right off of Oslo Road. We have been there since the inception of the Intergenerational Center. We started in the hallway with youth guidance when they were there. We then sat in the lobby for 2 years, dedicated to helping children from the Oslo community. We used the computers that were donated by the county. We had volunteers and children that would come into the IG Center promptly every day at 4 p.m. with our volunteers, and we would sit and we basically took over the lobby of the IG Center. In 2018, we were able to move to room 125, which is the smallest room at the Intergenerational Center, but it was a step up for us because we had graduated. We graduated from the hallway to the lobby to the smallest classroom. Today, we are in 2 of the largest rooms at the Intergenerational Center, and it is because of the generosity of our community, the Children's Services Advisory Commission, as well as the people of Indian River County that have made it so that we are able to continue to provide services. This year in January, we were presented with a contract that started at $35,000 in order for us at that time to be able to provide an after-school program to children at the Oslo Center. We are there. In the past, we'd been there Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 6 p.m. This year, to better serve our community, we want to increase our hours to be Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. However, with our new needs or with the desire to better serve our community, we have been given a toll of about $50,000 to be able to continue to be in service at the Intergenerational Center. I come before the commission because each year we are having to go back and forth with the county due to the fees, and we understand that the county is a business and that we are a nonprofit. But we need the commission's assistance and their support to help us to be able to identify a fee that we are able to go to our funders and that they feel is reasonable for us to continue to operate at the Intergenerational Center. We have families and children, and not only them, but we also have employees from the community that depend on us. Forgive me for not saying it earlier, but just to tell you a little bit about Ms. B's Learning Bees. Ms. B's Learning Bees, our mission is to help children and families, is to be a resource for children and families from high poverty communities. We provide academic support as well as behavioral services. Because we understand the unique needs of our families, to make it more accessible to them, instead of them coming to us at a defined location, we take our services to them. We currently have 2 locations. One is located at the Intergenerational Center, as I shared earlier. The other is located at the West Wabasso Outreach Center. What I am asking for the county commission to do today is to please vote, or to, before I make a call to action, Just so you understand where this process has been, for the last 5 years, we met with Mr. Zito before ever coming to the county commission. So in no way have we tried to come to the commission before meeting with Mr. Zito or meeting with Jason Brown. But we are now at a place where we need you to act so that we are able to continue to exist and serve the children of Indian River County. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, my name is Sarah Smith, and I have been a volunteer with Miss B's Learning Bees, so I am here to speak very briefly about them. But I also wanted you to know I've been a fundraiser in Indian River County for more than 20 years. I've seen a lot of good nonprofit work in this county and amazing work with children that our county does and that our nonprofits do. When I first saw Miss B's Learning Bees, I was astounded. Absolutely astounded at the level of work she does with children who are falling behind in school. They come to her perhaps in grade 2, grade 3, grade 5, grade 6 or 7, and they cannot read. They are failing coursework, they can't move on, and no one has diagnosed the foundational reason why they can't read. These children, their families can't afford after-school programming that costs money. They have no funds to keep them in tutoring or in after-school because these are working families. They're employed in our county, and they are still living just above the poverty level. These children work with Miss Bees. As she said, she's a certified teacher, and she's been awarded accolades from the Florida Department of Education as a teacher. And she works with these children. She diagnoses each individual child to find out why they're not performing. It's an intensive process, but it works because the children who are in this achievement gap, which the county has said is one of the greatest needs in the county assessment, is the need for after-school program to get these children up to grade level. These children come up to grade level. She has the results. She has quantifiable results because it's all recorded on data on computers. She, during the pandemic, gave kids computers when they didn't have any at home. They were working on phones because their mother or father's phones. They didn't have internet access or the bandwidth to be able to follow their school programs. She got grants to get those families what they needed during the pandemic. She's brought them to grade level. She said over 800 children. That's amazing because she does it on a shoestring. So I'm asking you to see her program, really see it, look at it. She has an amazing website and her story is amazing. And to see if there's a way where the county can use these taxpayer dollars for these children, because the county has said this is a high priority. Our children and their after-school programs are what it's going to take to bring them out of poverty. And as you heard, we are these areas in our county are one of the highest poverty areas in the state. So please, do something for Miss Bees. I promise you, like me, you will be amazed at what she's able to do. And thank you for your time and your attention to this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I would, the recommendation I would give you be work with staff further. Ms. Powell's right there. She's in charge of it. She's the one you need to talk to, and you know, is there anything to be done? We can move from there. Beth, anything you want to say?
As a request to speak, I don't think there's any action today. However, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I have brought some backup if it would be appropriate to share that.
This is actually public comment.
Yeah.
This is public comment, so.
I know that. We're not taking any action. I just gave them a recommendation to get with staff to talk about this. We're not taking any action on this, Commissioner.
Okay.
Okay? But we can open it, we can have a discussion about it. Mr. Zito?
Certainly.
Nothing?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Michael Zito, Deputy County Administrator. As you know, we have a fee schedule for all of our venues that have set pricing. Those venues do accommodate nonprofit agencies at a standard 25% discount. In this particular case, a special occasion item was brought before this board, and this board did approve an additional 25% discount for this entity. specifically. My recommendation is always when you depart from your fee structure that you should always have a sunset or a one-time special occasion as like we do for the Veterans Fair at the fairgrounds every year, but that it sunsets at some point because you're getting away from your fee structure. Even with that said, you do have a over $50,000 discount applied to this particular contract, so I'm not sure where to go from here if you want to take additional action.
Mr. Chair, if I can just make a comment, I think how we normally handle these, and I appreciate the information, Mr. Zito, but how we would normally handle this, and I want to be fair and consistent as how we've handled the other speakers that just spoke. If this is something that a commissioner feels strongly about, then they need to bring it back as a commission item. And at that point, we have the background and the ability to have a discussion. But at this point, I think we've heard, we've heard from the applicant, and if there is a commissioner here that wants to bring it back, then I would encourage them to bring it back and get with Mike and those that need to provide the information necessary to have a more robust discussion. But I think just for consistency's sake, we are holding everybody to 3 minutes, and we are moving on because it's a public discussion item, and we should be treating them all similarly.
No, I agree. It was my intention to just offer them the potential to get with staff to discuss this further. And should a commissioner want to bring this back at some time, we can do that. We can do that on any public discussion. I probably, my mistake, I forgot to say before the public discussion that we do not normally take any action unless the commissioner feels strongly and wants to bring this back at a later date. So with that, we'll leave it at that, and we'll move on to 10B8, a public discussion request from Dr. Miles Conway, President of the South Beach Property Owners, Inc., reference the state of Florida proposed legislation preempt to the state any river county authority to regulate, it says rentals, but I'm going to assume that's vacation rentals. So, Dr. Conway.
I'm pumping out to you, ma'am. Are you?
Yeah, it
I'm
should be
pushing out everything. I'm pushing out to you, man. Yeah, I'm pushing out to you.
I'll have to check.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to go, but
I'm going to take a break.
We can
could
take a
you?
break.
We need a break? Need to take
Could
a
you
break?
please, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman?
Let's take a
That'd be
10-minute break.
He's coming down.
Okay.
Make sure.
Thank you.
All right, we'll reopen the meeting. Again, back to 10B8, public discussion request from Dr. Miles Conway, President of the South Beach Property Owners, Inc., reason state of Florida proposed legislation to preempt the state Indian River County's authority to regulate, again, we'll assume vacation rentals. Dr. Conway, welcome.
Thank you. Miles Conway, 2340 South Highway A1A and 2130 South Highway A1A. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The purpose of my coming before you today is to save you a lot of time, not take up a lot of your time. Because this commission is heading in a direction where over the next couple of weeks and the next couple of meetings, you're going to be expending a lot of time on new regulations, increasing fines, etc., which could potentially become moot in a couple of months' time when the Florida legislation, the Florida legislature goes into session again. The second purpose behind my meeting today is to make sure that you are not misinformed, misdirected, and engaged in gaslighting as we had the last time. What I'm going to do is bring to your attention information and facts and evidence that are in the public domain already and are also sitting in your Indian River County email servers in the form of emails. Specifically, there was an article published last year in the Vero Communique, an online blog by Mr. Thomas Hardy. The article read, "Did its lobbyists mislead Indian River County regarding short-term rentals?" And what it states in this article, and to keep within the 12 minutes that you provided to the previous speaker, I'll move as quickly as possible, but I hope I'll hit the highlight points. The issue: it's one thing to occasionally have a rowdy crew in the Airbnb next door, but it's something else when the constant stream of strangers ruins your neighborhood. The lobbyists, Anfield Consulting of Tallahassee, is Indian River County's lobbying firm, specifically Edgar Fernandez, and the profile is listed there, but essentially he is your lobbyist. Mr. Hardy, through public records request, has indicated that the term of Indian River County's agreement with Anfield Consulting started in 2022 and ended in December 2022, and you paid them $120,000 to represent you with respect to rentals and something and various others. I don't know what the 23 contract is, if they're still under contract to you. The main lobbyist you have is a gentleman by the name of Edgar Fernandez, and this is published online. Now, with respect to the gaslighting, the last time we were in session over here, an individual got up and said that you had a choice back in 2011, that you could have gone, that you had no choice. The issue is that you did have a choice. The legislature included a provision in 2011 that grandfathered your existing rental regulations. At that time, Indian River County required that a vacation rental operating in a residential neighborhood not less than 30 days. Otherwise, it would be classified as a hotel or motel. On 7/10, as I mentioned at that last meeting, on 7/10/2012, there were only two of us that are sitting in this hall today that were present at that time. That's my friend, Mr. Fleischer, over there, and myself. On 7/10, Indian River County chose not to be grandfathered, and based upon a motion by then County Commissioner Bob Slary and seconded by Commissioner Joe Fleischer, the commissioners voted to allow short-term rentals for less than 1 month in both commercial and residential districts. It then listed, as a result of the ongoing neighborhood complaints of short-term rentals, the County Commission voted, Mr. Fleischer was there again, I was the only one there, and Honorary Commissioner Paladin was there. All right, 2016, there was prohibition, and what you implemented at that time, and as I said, Honorary Commissioner Paladin was vice chairman of the advisory committee that misadvised this commission on what to do. Essentially, what happened is you prohibited commercial events. You had special parking regulations. You had sea turtle regulations. You had noise regulations, and Mr. Hardy only cited Chapter 974 when the most restrictive regulation and the most effective in getting back things to normal was Section 911-15-9D, no amplification systems that prevented boomboxes and karaoke's in residential neighborhoods blasting out the whole neighborhood. So those were all the regulations that you passed back in 2016. Then what happened last year, or in 2022, Senator Danny Burgess in 2021 said, oh no, we want to preempt you now. We want to take your authority away. And this started all the way back in 2017 with Senator Stubbe started this whole exercise. What it says in this, certain regulated activities of public lodging establishments, apartments, transit boarding houses. As such, short-term regulations improved on 2021 outlined above would be null and void. In other words, he wanted to preempt it. What then happened at that stage is on January the 12th, Natalie Forsell, a partner at Anfield Consulting, emailed Kathleen Force, former Indian River County Legislative Affairs and Communication Manager, and Indian River County Attorney Dylan Reingold, asking them at their earliest convenience review updated language to the grandfather clause. We have met with state-regulated industries and felt the attached would provide the legal language that we would need. In other words, your consultants up in Tallahassee got together with Senator Mayfield and staff and said, look at our regulations in 2011, look at our regulations in 2016, proposed an amendment that said we would be getting a get-out-of-jail card because in 2011, we didn't allow rentals into residential neighborhoods. And then in 2016, under the Thrasher Amendment, we had a number of additional regulations. And our get-out-of-jail card was they were less restrictive, which was proposed in a formal amendment. However, our get-out-of-jail card that we have been traveling on for the last couple of years is flawed. It's flawed for the very reason that our regulations are not less restrictive. They are more restrictive by any standards. Our parking regulations are more restrictive. Our noise regulations, and particularly 911-15-9D9, is more restrictive. So we've been traveling, and this is why the basis of this article has said, did our lobbyists mislead us? Because what is happening, Mr. Chairman, is that if we go and pass these parking regulations and all of these other more stringent regulations in terms of fines, etc., it's all well and good in terms of what you're trying to do. But what is going to happen is that Senator DeSigley is going to come along now in 4 months' time, and he's going to come and he's going to impose the same set of regulations that says you have to apply this across the board to every residential house. You can't target rentals specifically. And if we come in with that argument that our regulations are less restrictive, our regulations are going to be null and void. And you don't have to take my word for this. Take your own word for it. What happened here is that a number of emails flew between Mr. Reingold, the Anfield consultant, and Mr. Brown. And all of them indicated that our regulations are indeed more restrictive. And let me give you an example of that. Oh dear, can't get there. Sorry, I'm running into a technical problem again in terms of getting another file up here, and it's not coming across. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just anyhow. What I will do is, I'll email this to you. Mr. Brown and Mr. Reingold flagged to the consultant that our regulations are indeed more restrictive, not less restrictive. This was conveyed to Senator Mayfield. In the last legislative session, the difference between what happened in the previous session, there was a formal amendment that said, if the regulations are less restrictive, then we are exempted from preemption. In the DeSigley bill that occurred in 2023, there was no formal amendment. This was on the floor agreement between Senator Mayfield and DeSigley, who was the sponsor of this, that we would be exempted. The issue is our regulations are more restrictive. And what is going to happen is that if we go ahead, and this time it's going to pass, ladies and gentlemen, this time it's going to pass, and we do not have a get out of jail card. Mr. Tukanich and I have been exchanging emails in terms of a matrix that was prepared showing what was occurred in 2011, what occurred in 2016. And according to that matrix, which both Mr. Reingold and Mr. Brown said, no, these do not apply, and specifically Mr. Brown made reference to the parking regulations, that matrix is in error. And all I'm indicating to you now, Mr. Chairman, is that if we go up on that, we are traveling under a false sense of security, and I'm going to send you all of the emails that went back and forth. Unfortunately, I'd like to bring them up over here, but I'm running into this technical problem. So the second issue then that needs to be faced is that we are going to be in for another dogfight again. And one of the issues that the problems that we're running into is that as a watchdog organization, we are desperately in need of your support, one commissioner or two commissioners or three commissioners, to be actively going up to Tallahassee and going before the committees and doing the formal lobbying, because we are out on a limb on this one. This time they are going to take away your authority. They are going to be successful if we don't intervene. I appreciate last time, Mr. Ehrman, that you went up and you spoke before, I think it was Rules and Regulations Committee. I went up before Ways and Means. But we need a more of an orchestrated approach to this, because the consultants are not going to do the job for us. And if I have to make any request of you today, Mr. Chairman, is the veracity of this. This is all factually supported. This is in the public domain. It's in your own email servers, and I'm going to send the evidence to you. I'm requesting that Anfield Consulting come down here. You summon these people from Anfield Consulting, if they are still under contract for you, and you get Mr. Fernandez to stand over there and look at you in the eye and say to you, prove to you that we do have a get-out-of-jail card. And I would like to debate that issue with him, because I'm informing this committee now, you're going down on a false assumption that we are exempt. We are not exempt. They are going to take your authority away. And I'm asking you to intervene on this. Now, with respect to going up to Tallahassee, this is a law enforcement issue, as far as I'm concerned. This is a regulation issue. And I think the person to fill the void that Commissioner O'Brien used to go up as chairman of the Border County Commission, which I could never understand. He was actually in the rental business. It was a situation of rooting for the cops and running with the robbers. I could never quite understand this. Justice Scalia said, you can't run with the cops and root for the robbers, and that's what he was doing. And the person most qualified for this is the sheriff there. He knows the guys in Tallahassee. I'd like to make this appeal for one thing to ask you, is that Sheriff Lowe be the designated representative of this Board of County Commissioners to go up to Tallahassee and cut through all the bull. And he will see, as a law enforcement officer, what goes on there. And I'd like to correct something, because Sheriff Lowe and I and you, Mr. Chairman, we have a different approach to things. You and your colleagues sitting next to you have this idea of being a beekeeper. You attract more ants, or you get more done with honey rather than with vinegar. I disagree with you. You haven't been up to Tallahassee the number of times I've been up to Tallahassee. The way you succeed in Tallahassee, you're not judged by the number of friends that you make up in Tallahassee. You're judged by the number of enemies that you vanquish up in Tallahassee. That's a rough crowd up there. And we need a tough guy up there. And I can see no better tough guy than sending Sheriff Lowe up there. So that's in summary. We are not exempt. We do not have a get-out-of-jail card. And we need to have an orchestrated attack against them taking away your authority in 4 months' time. Otherwise, these next meetings that Mr. Tukanich and Mr. DeBraal and all of these people over here are going to put effort into improving fines and all the rest of it, academic, moot in 4 months' time, because we are going to be preempted. And as an example of this already, they've taken away your licensing, this contractor licensing preemption that just took place the other day, where painters, stucco guys, take your pick on you have no authority to control these people affecting the quality of our lives in Indian River County. You're on notice, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to item C, public notice items. NC1, Mr. DeBraw.
Yes, let me just read the article, the ordinance and.
Your mic's not on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Let me just read the public hearing notice, and then I believe County Administrator has some comments to make. This is an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County amending Section 103.03 of the Code of Indian River County to modify the violations for which an increased fine amount shall be imposed for certain code violations for vacation rentals, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and effective date.
Mr. Administrator.
So, Mr. Chairman, in light of the comments that have been made, as well as some other discussions and conversations that have been had, and reviewing the Senate bill from last session, and that arguably potentially being the launching point for legislation in the upcoming year, the session would begin on January 8th and sine die, or the session ending on Monday, March 11th, 2024. Maybe it might be prudent to withdraw this request for the ordinance, and that would give us time to, I think, formulate a strategy. I'm not disagreeing with, Dr. Conway. I think maybe it's just an opportunity to withdraw it, look at it. I've looked at what that bill proposed, and I think maybe we can have some more discussions on this. But I would respectfully request to withdraw the public notice of the public hearing, because if, in fact, the bill goes through and there's even one part that we can't enforce, then we will have to come back and amend the ordinance.
I'm okay with that, because I think that our first round of what we can do locally is through code enforcement. We have the additional officer coming along, and I think enforcement's still the key with regards to this. But I do agree. I agree with Dr. Conway. I agree with you. I think they tinker with this every year. They always have, and they're going to continue, because it's big money throughout the state. And we do need to have our ducks in a row if we're going to protect the interest of, we're going to protect the interest of our citizens. Vacation rentals are good, they're bad. Vacation rentals are not just on the beach. They're not just in, big houses. They're in small, 2-bedroom, 1-bath houses in neighborhoods. So we need to make sure that our enforcement's doing well, and that we get ready for this. So personally, I have no problem, but I'd like to hear what anybody else has to say.
He's not done.
I would just want to add to that, Mr. Chair, members of the board, the ordinance that was being proposed provided for enhanced fine for certain violations, largely the lack of licensure and then the amplification of noise. The schedule of current fines, and that was going above and beyond the basic statutory limit of $250 per day or $500 for a repeat violation. We have a schedule that we could bring forward to address, at least increase some of those, but not go to the enhanced fine provision. So maybe we need to step back and evaluate that. Like right now, it's for the parking issue, it's $50 per day per vehicle, that's in violation. I've spoken with Andy Sobchak, and they want to look at that schedule of penalties and time frame as a whole, not just those violations, but the others. They have not been updated in a while. So that's what we're going to do is, this ordinance would have provided the board the ability to adopt a resolution to provide enhanced fines for the non-licensing, as well as the noise ordinance. We were going to address parking as well in the resolution. So we could still, we will get with the attorney's office, and we'll review those options about the current schedule falling within the existing statutory scheme without raising it to a higher level of the enhanced fines that requires a supermajority by this board.
Well, it sounds like you have some concerns with it, so, I'm okay for it coming back at a later date. When y'all have your ducks in a row, Counselor, how do you feel about this?
Yes, I would agree. It's a good opportunity to just kind of lay low, see what the session brings us, and, explore our options at that time.
Commissioners?
Council, lay low at this time.
Yes, sir.
So we may have to be high right up the road in Tallahassee as well. Maybe a strong collective effort. I believe that, and I'm proud that Doc has pointed out what we did in 2016. I am very proud of what we did in 2016. And yes, it was the strongest, but I believe that we waved the cape in front of the bull at that point. We were invited to, and we did it. We built something that's very strong. It needs to be enforced. And in enforcement, it's very difficult as you're being tested and tested again. And we will be tested again in Tallahassee. And I think that we're invited to take home rule home, and we did. And we made it big. And I think that it might have just aggravated quite a bit and brought some more attention to us because they want to win. They want to win unilaterally.
Discussion up here.
So it's good that and I agree that we should not be going in that direction just yet, but we should be prepared for when it happens so that we're not taken out of the scenario, because we did work hard in 2016.
Commissioner Laura, anything?
I'm good with withdrawing.
I don't know if we have to have any action on this at this time. We can just, it's kind of a consensus thing, just to let you bring it back at the appropriate time when you see fit.
And I would, yes, Mr. Chair, and I would add, for the board's benefit, staff is currently working and evaluating items for the board's consideration, and individually I've asked each of you to think of items as it relates to our legislative agenda. This is clearly will be one that would be a priority that we would want to, tackle.
Okay.
To the
So
point.
is a consensus, just to let staff bring it back at when the appropriate time?
Yes, sir.
Good, Madam Vice Chairman?
Mr. Chair?
Okay, yes, sir.
I personally, I appreciate consensus, but it was publicly noticed to have the public notice, and I believe that a vote for the request of the county administrator, which we all, it's obvious that we agree, but we should do that because it was legally printed, and there may be some people in anticipation.
All right. Okay.
Go ahead and make the motion and second, and then take comment. Do
you want us to take action on it?
Just go ahead and do that. Dot the i's and cross the
Motion
t's.
from Commissioner Lohr, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Anybody from the public wish to comment?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
And I'll just bring this to your attention, that what is exposed at the moment is our ability to levy fines and increase the levying of the fines, namely the 2016, which is the Thrasher Amendment. However, you do have a silver bullet. You've always had the silver bullet, but you've never fired the silver bullet. The Sheriff Flowers has already sent letters to Mr. Sobczak calling for revocation of a license. All this board has to do in lieu of increasing fines is make 3 complaints to the board, the Department of Business and Professional Regulation against a rental, and they will revoke the state license, which achieves the same thing that you're trying to do with the increased fines. You have never exercised that silver bullet, which is not subject to preemption. As a local authority, you can make an objection or you can file a complaint against a license of a rental that has been approved by the state. Three strikes and you're out.
So,
If I could, they would be entitled to due process. They would be entitled to a hearing on that matter under Chapter 120 to present any evidence that they'd want to put forward. It's not an automatic 3 strikes and you're out.
And I would add to that is there's very specific criteria where if the establishment, because we did look at the revocation process with DBPR, and it's very specific to, like, maybe the house was used for trafficking, it was used for different types of very egregious, infractions or crimes, and it was declared a public nuisance from that standpoint. And they, if I recall correctly, DBPR was limited only to revoke them for no more than a 1-year period. But, and we'll look at our own code, because we have looked at it, because there's some ambiguity on how we could potentially do it. It says we could, but there's not any teeth to what's the process. So we did look at the state's, the DBPR's revocation process. So we'll look at it further.
Yeah,
okay?
because I'll
commit
just
that to
say this,
you.
Mr. Chairman, but from being on the front line of this for the last 10 years, the chilling effect of having a revocation order against you, having to go up to Tallahassee and again having to fight that, will be a lot more effective than your fines. If that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to control and bring back some peace and quiet into neighborhoods, that is the silver bullet that you have at the moment that you've never fired.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Lohr, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next, Mr. Burrell, 10C2.
This is an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County amending Section 210.01 and 210.03, the Tourist Development Tax section of the Code of Indian River County, in order to impose an additional cent of tourist development taxes and reallocate the authorized uses of the tourist development tax revenue, providing for codification, severability, repeal of conflictions, and an effective date. I turn it to the chair.
Thank you, Counselor. All right, moving on to County Administrator's Matter, 11A. First Amendment to the Collective Bargaining Agreement between Indian River County and Teamsters Local Union Number 769 for fiscal year 23-24 general wage increase. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, staff and our negotiations team met with the Teamsters Local Union 769 regarding the FY 2023-2024 general wage increase, negotiating a wage increase of on June 26, where we reached tentative agreement, and the wage increase is 6% or $1.25 per hour, whichever is greater, which would be effective the first full pay period in October. The full cost of that is $1,061,192. So it was ratified by the union on August 9th, 2023. With that, staff respectfully recommends approval of the general wage increase of $1.25 per hour or 6%, whichever is greater, for the employees represented by the Teamsters, Local Union 769, effective the first full period in October 2023, and requests the board authorize its chairman to sign the amendment to Article 33, wages of the collective bargaining agreement providing for the general wage increase. And with that, staff would like to thank the negotiating team for the Teamsters, as well as our internal staff for their efforts. Or I would like to thank them.
Commissioners, any comments or questions?
No, job well done.
Thanks for getting it taken care of.
Any questions? Nobody from
The,
Teamsters?
Madam President?
Steve Long, I'll say Steve. All right, do I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Lohr. Anybody from public wish to comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 11B, Memorandum of Agreement between Indian River County Emergency Services District, and the International Association of Firefighters, Local Union Number 2201, for the fiscal year 2023-24. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, and members of the administration met with the negotiating team with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Union 2201, regarding the fiscal 2023-2024 general wage increase. Additionally, also discussing a returning to the pay averaging. We agreed to a memorandum of agreement regarding those two. First, the wage increase is 6%, effective the first full pay period in October, with a total cost of $1,976,959. The wage adjustment would increase the minimum to maximum of the plan by 6% and corresponds with the steps of the respective pay plan. Additionally, the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement, includes an amendment to the existing collective bargaining agreement to return to the providing an average biweekly wage to fire-certified shift employees effective the first pay period following ratification by the memorandum agreement by both parties. The memorandum was submitted to the International Association of Firefighters membership and ratified by the union on August 3rd and is presented to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. First, staff would like to thank, or I would like to thank our negotiating team as well as the negotiating team with I see the President Kristen's here, but the International Association of Firefighters Local Union number 2201. With that, the recommendation is to respectfully recommend approval of the memorandum agreement to provide for a 6% general wage increase for employees represented by the IFF Local Union number 2201, effective the first pay period in October 2023, and return to payment of an average biweekly wage to fire-certified shift employees, and authorize its chairman to sign the memorandum of agreement.
Great.
Mr. Administrator, I have one question on the MOA on 4B, where it says about the hourly per hour. Is that a typo there?
No, because essentially, if you recall, the number of his hours will change as we incorporate additional Kelly days, and thus the hourly rate may change because they'll kind of be slotted in that hourly rate, and it'll be reflected because there's additional, or in this case, less hours.
I just recall the last contract had a dollar amount. With that, Mr. Chair, I move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Lohr, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Anybody from the public wish to comment, though? Mr. Zito, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to thank both union representatives for their professionalism in this endeavor. Also mention to you that the memorandum of understanding that appears in your agenda book will need a place for the chairman to sign, just for the record. So the agenda item does ask the commission to give you authority to sign, but currently there's no block that will be added after the fact, just as a formality with the union's consent. So I wanted to get that on the record. Thank you very much.
Kristen?
I just wanted to come up and thank all of you on behalf of our membership for everything that you've done for us, your continued support of us. We appreciate you, and we appreciate everything you're doing for us and our department as well. So thank all of you, and also Director Johnson and Chief Rattray. We wouldn't be able to do this without them either, so thank them too.
Thank you.
Chief, anything?
Good morning. I'd just like to thank Chris and her team for working so closely with our team to get this done. And I'd like to thank you for your support. You're pushing us into what we need to do and to get this thing done. So thank you, and thank Mr. Tukanich for his support also. Thank you.
I would like to add that, boy, it never went this smoothly when I was on the other side. Maybe it was something that we did wrong, but I do want to thank our county administrator, and I especially want to thank our deputy county administrator and the negotiating team for hearing what we had to say, what we had to do, and listening to the Teamsters and the firefighters to come up with a good contract. I know, Mike, you know, Kristen knows, and I know Commissioner Fleischer knows, there was a lot of times we didn't reach an agreement and then we weren't getting pay raises in October. If you remember, and I'm glad to see that we're able to do this smoothly and get this done. So I just want to thank staff, your staff, and both sides of the table, and Teamsters and the IAFF for getting this done. It's a good thing for us, good thing for the county, and good thing for the employees. So with that, I have a motion by Commissioner Lohr, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have something you need to say?
Mr. Chair, I would be remiss not to thank Suzanne Boyle, our Human Resources
Absolutely.
Director, who also is an integral part in both negotiating with Teamsters and the IAFF, along with Chief Johnson and Mike Zito.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to departmental matters. We don't have anything except down to G, Public Works. And it's 12G1, County Road 510, Florida Department of Transportation widening concept and possible closure of existing Old Dixie Railway crossing. And I see our Public Works Director is here, Mr. Spirka.
Commissioners, Rich Sparaga, Public Works Director. So I got a little PowerPoint for you. And maybe, so there we go. All right, so we're here to talk about the possible closure of Old Dixie Highway Railroad crossing. Uh-oh. It's not working. Next one. So Florida Department of Transportation is taking on a PD&E study right now. It's a project development and environmental study for County Road 510 from 58th Avenue east of US 1. This is basically the fifth part of the widening of County Road 510 from 512 all the way to the east side of US 1 from a two-lane road to a 4-lane divided roadway. As part of the PD&E, FDOT has met with FEC regarding the widening of the County Road 510 crossing at the railroad. It's FEC's policy that any entity that proposes to widen a roadway at a crossing must compensate for the additional lanes by closing another railroad crossing or crossings, depending on how many lanes, in the general area of where the widening project is going to go. FDOT has provided us with the conceptual alternative that's leading right now in the PD&E. The concept is for a flyover, which is a bridge over US 1 and the railroad, starting on the west side and coming down on the east side, with at-grade crossings for the movements from US 1 that would go east and west on 510 that wanted to use US 1. So here's the picture of the concept. The red is basically the bridge that flies over, and then it would come down. The yellow lines are basically the retaining walls where it would come down and meet the at-grade crossings. You can see that there'll be left and right turn lanes for eastbound to go north and south on US 1. Same thing for westbound on 510 to go north and south on US 1. But traffic that's going east and west that wants to continue on 510 will use the flyover. Won't have to stop at the red lights. Won't have to just keep on going. So FDOT approached the county as to consider closing the FEC railway crossing at Old Dixie Highway to accommodate the widening of the 510 project. So for those of you who don't know, Old Dixie from 512 runs south on the west side of the railroad, and about midway between it crosses the railroad and runs down the east side of the railroad, and then it turns and goes out to US 1. Here's a close view of how it operates. So Old Dixie itself is based south of the railway crossing is 8 to 10 feet wide of asphalt. It's in poor condition. It's been like this for years, and there's variable widths of right-of-way. North of the railway, there's about 2,500 feet. That's 12 to 14 feet wide with variable right-of-way. And then from that point north, there's a decent road at 18 to 20 feet wide. It's in fair condition. So I got a few pictures for you. This is what the 18 to 20 foot wide road looks like north of the railroad crossing. This is where the 18 to 20 foot wide just changes to 12 to 14 feet wide. This is basically just looking at the 12 to 14 foot wide just north of the railway crossing. So this is on the south side. Basically, you can see from this picture where people, if they have to pass, you can see where the wheel paths are on the sides of the roadways. It's the only way to go through when two people have to pass. So this one here, basically my truck's in the middle of the road, and you can see on either side, there's nothing. There's very little pavement. So you can see where this is a unique situation, and I would not want to send a whole lot of traffic that way. So staff is requesting direction from the board about the possibility of closing the FEC Railway at Old Dixie to accommodate the County Road 510 widening. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Mr. Chair, Rich, does the county have the authority to close it?
Excuse me?
Does the county have the authority to close it? Do we have the authority to close it?
We wouldn't, we do
In
have the
concert
authority.
with
It's a
FDOT.
county roadway. We would give up our rights to FEC and close the crossing. We have a 2004 agreement with FEC that basically says you can be there by agreement, and we pay for the maintenance and everything else. We've done the same thing when we widened Oslo Road and when we widened 53rd Street. We had to give up other crossings in other areas of the county in order to make those widening projects work. So this is nothing new. This is just basically, we're at that point where if we want to have a good 4-lane segment through for 510, all the way from the Berry Island, all the way to 512, it'll be a nice when it's done. Good evacuation route. This is one of the steps that we have to take in order to accommodate the widening that DOT is paying for.
Thank you. Rich, as we're all well aware, that there's been some access issues with some of the development improvement or plan development in Sebastian and North County with access. Does this in any way, shape, or form constrict any access towards those developments or future developments?
My answer to that would be no. It would actually benefit them. So if we were to close the right-of-way, the one thing, if we would have the railway closed, the only thing they couldn't do is use that roadway that we just saw for access down to US 1. They got to go up to 512, or if anybody develops on that area, they would have to build the roadway, which they have to do anyway, and they go down to US 1 where there's full access at US 1. So with that said, one of the objections by the county, and I still object to it, as long as that crossing's there, is giving
object to the
full
objection?
access to Spirit of Sebastian.
Oh.
Okay? We've negotiated with that for years. They went to the city, they annexed to the city because one of the reasons was we wouldn't give them full access on that road, and it's a safety issue. Staff was very, very concerned about the safety issue. And we tried to work with them with basically a left in, left out, where people couldn't go south on that. This would take away that whole thing. If this was to go away and there was no access from crossing the railroad, people would have to go north to go on to 512. Public Works objections to them having full access to that roadway go away. The rest of the properties that are there, it's the standard operating procedure. You come in, you get a right-of-way permit, you do the roadway improvements that you have to do, and we move on. So,
Would the closure of that crossing, because again, that becomes a right of egress from Sebastian when they were working on the crossings in Sebastian, that became highly utilized. Would the closure of that be done post the construction or prior to the construction? In other words, that Old Dixie Cross becomes highly trafficked when there is a crossing closure in Sebastian, in South Sebastian and Mid Sebastian.
okay.
So
this
that
will
is
be-
an alternate route. Would that be closed post the flyover expansion or prior to?
We'd have to talk to FEC about that, probably post. The thing of it is, please remember, that roadway was never supposed to be used, and it was not authorized to be used as a cut-through. Okay, because it's a single-lane road.
Yes,
It's a
it is.
dangerous roadway. It's not made for detouring traffic. The local people use it. I saw one car on it while I was there. It's just a roadway that hasn't been maintained over the years and years, and that there's just not enough room to put a roadway in that right-of-way that's there. So as part of our negotiations with FEC, we could tell FEC that, but remember, this has got nothing to, this closure, this really has nothing to do with 510, it'd be 512 area that would be closed, and those railroad crossings are done with, as far as I know, with Brightline.
As we can recall, when they had the anomaly of when they closed both crossings on the same day, that roadway was highly utilized. And just, I'm not taking about day-to-day use, just the anomaly, that it would probably be best served if that was left open until the flyover is completed.
But
To
if
give
the-
another
If
way
the,
out.
if the railway wasn't there, people would find another, if the crossing wasn't there, people would find another way to go. It's just that way, that's the way they would have took the detour that was set up.
Right.
But I understand what you're saying, but it's a crossing,
food for
it's the
thought.
only crossing that I see that will, by removing this crossing, will benefit the county as a whole. I can't find another crossing. We've only got, there's 32 total in the county. 8 of them belong, 2 belong to Sebastian. 7 belong to the city of Vero Beach, and 2 belong to DOT. So when you get down to it, we've only got like 18, 19 crossings that are county maintained. And this is the one that's least utilized at this point.
Least utilized, right?
And it's only the south side that's
Right.
being affected, and as Rich has already said, there's not a whole lot of traffic on it right now. And with that, with Brightline presumably finished with their crossings, you know, this is, to me, a positive thing for the progress, not only for the safety, but the evacuation route, one day when this comes, who knows when. So if you need a motion, I'd be happy to make a motion on that.
Second.
May I ask one more question? May I ask one question? On those roads, it looks like there are safety issues already. Is the intent at some point to upgrade them or to improve them in the future?
At this point in time, they are not on the CIE. They're very low volume roadways, and they are not on the CIE at this point in time. Resurfacing of the 18 to 20 foot wide roadway will probably happen within the next 3 to 4 years. I believe it's on our list. We're finalizing our list of all of our roadways within the county now. And it's probably due for resurfacing. But as far as widening, it's not on the CIE list.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Rich, can you verify that ultimately FDOT holds the power to open or close a roadway? And in this case, we have an agreement with FEC, and rather than using the application process to close the roadway, they're just relying upon our agreement. But they would have to generally file an application with FDOT regarding a roadway opening or closure.
That is correct. The Florida statute gives FDOT the authority to open and close railroad crossings if they so desire, but they still have to go through FEC. FEC is the final authority because they own it, and they've been here since 1911. They even outdate David Gunner and the farms. Not saying a lot.
Yeah.
Don't tell David.
The roadway will still be open, just the crossing's closed, correct?
Yeah, we'll have to, if we close the crossings, we'll have to build turnarounds, and, we'll make it so that if somebody gets lost or goes down too far, they'll be able to safely turn around. Those are a couple of things that we'd have to do, but the roads will still be open.
And to follow up on Commissioner Fleischer's comment, the new developments going in there doesn't affect them, this actually benefits them,
Yeah,
correct?
it basically, it benefits them from the fact of they won't be, their access is still there. It's not really a benefit per se. It's just the fact of they just can't they can't go north of 512, which you go north of 512, you can only go to the east down to US 1 anyway. There's no crossover at 512 eastbound. So they go up there, they turn east, then they use that light and go north. But if you close it at the railroad, they go south, they come out on US 1, they go left, they go north on US 1, and it's only like 4 miles, and they're at the light that they were going to be before.
Any further questions or comments? So we had a motion to approve staff approval from Commissioner Lohr, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, we have a motion. Anybody in the public wish to comment?
There we
Go
go.
ahead.
Thank you.
Name and address for the record,
Good morning.
please.
Is it still morning? It is still morning. Good morning. Karen Meckling. I'm representing the Spirit of Sebastian. Do you need my address? 5215 Trade Winds Drive, Vero Beach, Florida. Obviously, Chuck Meckling, my husband would prefer to be here. I'm standing in today as the developers of the Spirit of Sebastian, which is the project that you all have referenced, the development that comes out onto Old Dixie. I just wanted to go on record, to say, yes, we've had several years of conversations between the city and the county of access. We have ingress and egress out of the community, onto Old Dixie currently, which is restricted to a construction entrance. So obviously this moving forward, the benefit of potential change in that ingress and egress would benefit us to have a more open access there. So I wanted to just say that obviously moving forward, that would be a benefit, to us. So that would be a wonderful thing moving forward. But I'm sure there'll be more meetings regarding, the best utilization of Old Dixie if that is closed. So, we've been a team player all along between the city and the county and being part of the process of what to do with Old Dixie and regarding improvements and whatever. So moving forward, if there's more conversation, we certainly would like to be part of that process to determine the best utilization of Old Dixie moving forward should this happen. So that's all I wanted to say at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Name and address for the record.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Benton, City of Sebastian, 1225 Main Street, Sebastian, Florida. Just here to show, obviously you don't need our support from the city, but we would just like to show that, we're okay with the closure of the railroad crossing. We want to make sure that the city is involved in discussions with any of the improvements that are going to be made to Old Dixie, because it does benefit city residents as well as you get obviously in the 18 to 20 foot section and going further north on that roadway. So we appreciate it, and I want to thank Mr. Tukanich for passing the information along. He's been a great resource to me as I began serving as interim city manager, and I just want to thank you all and thank you for the time today. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Joseph Paladin. I'm president of the Black Swan Consulting, also representing the IRNA. I'm chairman of the Land Use Committee, and I'm also an executive board member, and I have the authority to speak on their behalf. We support the motion, and we support everything that Rich brought forward.
Anyone else? Madam Vice Chairman, you had something to say?
I have nothing more to add.
All right. No one else? All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Lohr, second by Commissioner Fleischer to accept staff recommendation. All commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, we've already dealt with commissioners' matters. Time to move on to special district and boards.
Mr.
And,
Chair,
50
we actually skipped over 11C.
Oh, we did forget 11C. I'm sorry. Let's go back to that. You're right. I have it right there. We did. Okay, let me back up.
Yes.
Go to 11C, third quarter fiscal year budget report.
Yes, I just want to point out, while the general fund revenue is currently at 85.2% compared to where we are for, should be 75% for the third quarter, we, as mentioned during the budget message, we're continuing to see declining trends, as noted in those workshops. I'm just going to point out a couple of them. The traffic impact fees, they're down about $1,047,630, or 16.1% compared to, the previous year. Impact fees are down about $570,520, or 31% year to date. And building department revenues are down approximately $119,769, or 36.6% year-to-date. So I think this just continues to show now, this is the second quarter that we're seeing this, continued decline in our revenues as it relates to, everybody, again, I know everybody says it's a rosy picture out there in terms of home building. I think there is growth in the prospects that's sitting on the horizon, but we currently do see some of what others have suggested, like Dr. Snaith, that we will see a deceleration in housing starts. And so now we've seen it now for a couple quarters in a row. Just wanted to point that out, just to kind of remind everybody.
Again, this moved from under just normal items. Any questions?
Well, Mr. Chair, I met with the administrator yesterday, and we echoed the same thoughts. So you start looking at those trends all the time like we do, and I think we talked about this on July the 11th at the budget hearing. And I know that, I don't know if Commissioner Fletcher did, but I certainly warned some of our friends in the audience that this could be happening, and this early data that we have appears like this is happening. So fair warning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, any further question? All right. We don't need to take any action on that, was under information. Okay, moving to special districts and boards, 15B, 15B1, and 15B2. 15B1 is the approval of solid waste disposal district minutes of June 23rd.
Mr. Chair, move approval.
Cut it off. And I have 15B2, approval of solid waste disposal minutes districts of the second meeting of June, because it's cut off on my list here. So
moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Anybody from the public wish to comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, moving on to 15B3. Let me read this, it got cut off on mine. How come yours didn't get cut off and mine did?
I don't know.
Okay, 15B3, agreement with Kessler Consulting for landfill and customer convenience center procurement assistance and contract extension request with Republic Services. Mr. Liskey, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Again, Sean Leesky, Director of Utilities. Unfortunately, again, Himanshu could not join us this afternoon. I guess we're almost in the afternoon. With this agenda item, we actually have a couple of things that we want to bring before the commission, so I'm going to kind of split them up a little bit. The first one is as you guys are aware, we're currently working with Kessler Consulting on the procurement process for garbage collection services for the solid waste disposal district. What we're asking for here is to forego bidding processes and to enter into a contract with Kessler Consulting for the management of the landfill. That contract is actually currently due to expire in December 31st of 2024. So at the end of next year, that is currently due to expire. So we're asking to enter into a contract with Kessler Consulting to begin that procurement process as well, working with them to get the RFP together and to get that out on the street as quickly as we can. As a second part of that, though, we currently are working with, as you all are aware, Republic Services, who is our current contractor for management of the landfill. As I mentioned, that contract is due to expire next year. However, and their current contract is on a calendar year as opposed to the fiscal year. One of the things we're proposing to do is to try to align that more closely with the garbage collection, which is that contract is actually due at the end of the fiscal year 24-25. So that contract is due at September 30th of 2025. Similarly, what we would like to do is extend the contract with Public Services for 7 months to expire at that same time, which would be September 30th of 2025. When Himanshu approached Republic Services on that, they actually came back and had requested an 18% increase for that 7-month extension. Given that you all approved a 4% increase for 2024, that essentially dropped that down to around 14%. We asked them, and we went back, and Himanshu went back and asked them to consider another 4%. They countered. We went back and again asked if they would consider a 7% increase for that remaining 7 months of their contract, so through so from December 31st of '24 through September 30th of 2025, we would be asking for an additional 7% increase. We're not asking you to make any, we don't obviously have a contract with them right now. All we're asking for today from you all is to enter into negotiations with them and to working on that contract to extend that period for an additional 7 months at a 7% increase. And that gives us some sort of certainty also for when we're planning for that fiscal year. We'll actually know kind of already where we are with that contract price. Happy to answer any questions you might have. We also have a couple of representatives from Republic Services who we've had a very good working relationship with over the past several years in managing the landfill. And so we would be happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Commissioners, any question, Mr. Liskey?
Chair, Sean, did you say in 7 months, but then I just heard that it would expire on 9/30 of '24.
It currently expires on December 31st of 2024.
Okay.
And we would be extending it to September 30th of 2025.
That'd be 9 months.
Sorry, yes, it would be 9 months.
Okay.
Anybody? Mr. Administrator, anything?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And one point of clarification, I think our agenda item did say it expired on December 31st of 2025. That was actually written in error. It does expire on December 31st of 2024. So just point of clarification in the agenda item on that.
So with that, Chair, I'll waive the requirements for the bids. Staff recommendation.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Lohr, approve staff recommendation, second by Commissioner Adams. Anybody from the public wish to comment? Go ahead.
Unless the gentlemen and ladies have any questions.
Just let everybody know who you are.
Oh, apologies. I'm Fulton Smith. I'm the General Manager for Public Services Central Florida.
All right. Any further questions? Nope. Nobody from the public? Commissioners, all those in favor of staff recommendations signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Good.
Thank you.
All right, next, we have 15B4, renewal with Tiger Inc. for sale and purchase of natural gas. Mr. Liskey.
So we've been working with Tiger for natural gas. I think as you see in the agenda, we had estimated a certain amount of natural gas that we would pull from the system. And that contract is due to expire and we need to renew the contract for a period of time. We had hoped that we would be able to utilize the gas from the landfill gas. Unfortunately, there's some things that needed to be improved to allow us to use landfill gas at that facility. At the Heartland, this is for the evaporation system. And we're thinking that we're going to need several more months to extend that contract with Tiger to purchase natural gas. They've estimated and they've come back with an estimate of what they think they will need during that 7-month extension. This is where the 7 months comes in. During that extension. And so what we are asking for today is approval to work on an extension with Tiger to extend the contract with them for natural gas, to hopefully get us through to the point where we can start using landfill gas to power the Heartland Technologies system. So,
Any questions?
Are there any increases for those 7 months?
It's negotiated at the time we actually enter into the contract, so we're not sure exactly what the price for the natural gas will be. And you can see even in the agenda item, they had put an estimate of what it was at the time. It really fluctuates with the market. And so, when we enter into that agreement with them, the day we enter into that agreement with them is really the day, that's the price we get that day. And so it's really difficult to know if it's going to go up or down versus what we're currently paying. It just happens to be the market value at the time we enter into the contract extension with them.
Move approval, Chair.
Second.
Motion, I heard you.
Oh, Commissioner Lohr made the
Commissioner Lohr made the motion.
And Commissioner Fletcher.
Did you second, sir?
Second.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I thought I heard Commissioner Adams.
Might have.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Lohr, second by Commissioner Fleischer to approve staff recommendation. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 15B5, Amendment Number 4 to Site Crafters of Florida. Mr. Liskey.
So Site Crafters is a contractor that we've had on site who has been crushing the concrete on the site. We have a large pile of concrete that has been sitting there, and they were hired to do it. Unfortunately, I think we had some issues where we weren't using them, and I'm not sure exactly what was going on, but we're interested in entering into a contract with them to actually finish out the year, to crush the concrete, and then also extend that through to next year as well, to continue that process of crushing the concrete on the landfill currently. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that we're hoping to do is to look into potentially selling that crushed concrete to anyone who would be interested in utilizing that. Unfortunately, I don't think it's road grade. I think there's certain requirements that the crushed concrete has to meet to be road grade material, but it can be used for, like stabilized staging areas for construction sites, things like that. So it still could be a commodity, and we're hoping that we might be able to make some money in selling that to the open market. So, but what we're asking for today is a contract with Site Crafters to continue that process at the landfill.
Commissioners, any questions?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Lohr for staff approval. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, I think we have reached the end. If I missed something with all the changes we had, but I think we're good to go. The next meeting will be Tuesday, August 29th, 2023 at 9 a.m. as usual. With that, I deem us adjourned.